I've been thinking a lot this week about how easy it is to confuse visibility with significance. We always notice the people at the front of the room, the ones holding the microphone, the ones whose names appear on the website or the event program, the ones being thanked publicly. And because those forms of leadership are so visible, we often assume that they're the most important. But most communities aren't sustained by the people everyone sees. They're sustained by the people who quietly carry responsibility. The volunteer who always shows up, the parent who notices when someone is missing, the friend who makes that difficult phone call, the person who sees what needs doing and quietly goes and does it. This week's Torah portion, Korach, is often read as a story about rebellion, but I think it might be a story about something much more subtle, a confusion about what leadership actually is. Korach approaches Moshe and Aharon and declares, Ki kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim, for all the community are holy, every one of them. Uvtocham Hashem, and Hashem is among them. Umadua titnasu al kahal Hashem. Why then do you raise yourselves above the congregation of Hashem? At first glance, it sounds like a compelling argument, and that's what makes Korach dangerous, because he's not entirely wrong. The Torah does insist that every person possesses dignity, every person matters, every person has a role to play, but the deeper question is not what Korach says, it's what Korach wants. Again and again, the story seems to circle around status, recognition, and authority. Who gets honored? Who gets listened to? Who gets to stand at the center? Korach speaks the language of equality, but beneath the surface lies a struggle for position. What seems clear is how differently Moshe relates to leadership. Throughout the Torah, Moshe never seems eager to lead. At the burning bush, he resists. In the wilderness, he complains about the burden. When the people become too much for him, he asks for help. Leadership for Moshe is never possession, it's obligation, something entrusted to him rather than owned by him. Perhaps that's the real distinction at the heart of this week's parashah. Korach treats leadership as something to acquire. Moshe treats leadership as something to carry. One seeks status, the other accepts responsibility, and I wonder whether this tension exists far beyond formal leadership, in our organizations, in our communities, in our families, even in our friendships. How often do we want the recognition associated with responsibility more than the responsibility itself? How often do we want influence before we've demonstrated stewardship? The older I get, the more convinced I become that communities survive not because they produce charismatic leaders. They survive because enough people quietly decide, nobody else does this, I will. That decision rarely comes with applause, but it is the foundation upon which every healthy community rests. This week's Kavanah is all about seeking leadership through service, not ego, because leadership isn't ownership, it's stewardship, not something we possess, something we're entrusted with for a time. This week, I'm asking myself, where do I want recognition more than I want responsibility? And for you, who's someone in your life carrying responsibility without receiving much recognition for it? And this comes with a small ask from me this week. This is the first time I've ever ended one of these reflections with a request. But if this week's thought made you think of someone like that, someone who quietly carries responsibility, who serves more than they seek recognition, who helps hold a community together without much credit, send this to them. They might need the reminder that their leadership is being noticed. Shabbat Shalom.